All these rumors are fun to talk about, and Red Bull hasn't blown up yet.
Alex Albon's birthday, and his gift, Logan Sargent's car.
With the drain covers, why is this such a big issue?
That's what I'm saying. Alonso more and more is looking like Aaron Rodgers.
He's geriatric. We just kind of want him for merit mark.
You cannot win a constructor's battle when your second driver is not performing.
Grab your popcorn, folks. Things are getting crazy.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Lights Out Latest. My name is Marina, and I'm here with Tristan, Steven, and Christina. Jason couldn't be here this weekend, but all is forgiven. It's Easter weekend. We get it.
Noble fifth member, Christina.
Yeah. Christina's become the alternate of
I'm
choice.
everyone's favorite. Don't lie.
Ready to take over the
I'm better
reins.
than all of them.
Well, they're all
now we're getting a little
graduating.
sensitive.
That also
So-
makes me better than all of them. Even you.
How does that work?
I'm not graduating.
I know.
Anyways,
We all have roles to fill. I'm the idiot that just says random things. Steven's the McLaren fanboy. Jason's the tech guy. Christina, you're... What are you?
Max's lover.
What?
Max
is
is like...
hater. She is
Oh,
Max's
she's
hater.
confirmed
I
Max
don't
hater.
hate anybody.
I'm a
That's
confirmed
just
Lando
too
hater.
rude.
There
But
you go.
I think Lando hater is a stretch.
We
But
all fill
I
out
don't
the
think so
character
for you.
sheets.
Speaking of Lando hater, before we get into our headlines
Oh,
and
let's
talking about everything
we
as
have a
usual,
disclaimer.
I would like, it's not a disclaimer, I would like to make very clear that when I talk about Lando, this has nothing to do with who he is as a person. It is also not a personal attack to some people who happen to be Lando Norris fans. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be his fan. I'm not saying that you can't be his fan. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you for being his fan. I am not saying that Lando Norris is a bad person or a bad driver for that matter. He's a good driver. He's just not as good as other people, in my personal opinion. We can get that out of the way now.
Christina,
because-
as the officials of the Lando Norris fan club, do we accept this apology?
It's not an apology. It's a disclaimer.
I don't think we needed to bring it up.
Oh, it's going to be brought up
Bring
later.
it
I
up.
just wanted to make sure that it was
As the
put
officials
there.
of the Lando Norris fan club, we have rejected this disclaimer.
I am third party. I'm Switzerland on this.
No, I got some comments that were like, damn, she really is a Lando hater. And Christina,
You are.
Christina felt personally attacked. I just want to be clear.
Well, every time I see you, you go, "Hey, Lando was terrible," and I go, "Leave the boy alone."
Well, I'm just spitting
boy
facts. It's
alone.
not my problem. You can't accept reality. So
I'm just letting him live his life.
anyways, moving on. Headlines. A lot of rumors, yet again, Max Verstappen to leave Red Bull.
Yes.
Helmut Marko told media in Bahrain that he was worried that Max leaving the team, Max leaving the team given his exit clause based on championship performance. Then there was a lot of rumors. Even Steven sent me a post that said George Russell to sign contract or has signed a contract 2+1 or whatever, which was proven false. Mercedes said, we have not sat down at the table with Russell yet to discuss contracts. So I want to know, what do you think? Thoughts?
Well, I do think that if things continue... Well, I can't even say things continue because things have gotten a lot better for Max as of late.
Yeah, fair enough.
But,
He's still busting his ass.
yeah. I mean, to me, it's like a cowboy situation. It's like they're doing just enough to keep him.
Are you talking about like
The
Dak
Dallas
Prescott?
Cowboys?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know football. I was lost. I thought we were talking about like physical.
Oh, you said
cowboys.
cowboy, and I got very
Yeah.
confused.
I didn't say Cowboys. I apologize.
No.
No, but yeah, that's what I kind of feel about it. But I think Max is smarter than to fall into the Cowboys trap. So I do think
So what is the Cowboys trap?
to have false belief that your team is good enough to stay on,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
pretty much.
But, I mean, he
So-
won last week and came in second this week.
Well, that's what I'm
so
saying.
it's
So
like-
things are changing.
I don't think Max
He didn't
cares
win
as long
last
as... Or whatever it was. I don't know.
2 weeks
2 weeks ago?
I know.
I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun.
Hmm.
I love that quote. Anyways,
I do think though, if Max does fall to fourth, he will be gone. I do think.
Fall to fourth on like the
You
the
mean if
pecking
Drivers'
order?
Championship.
Oh,
if
okay.
George or
Yeah.
Charles
I don't know
jump
about
him.
fourth. I think if definitely he falls below fourth, he will definitely be gone.
I think,
Well, yeah, I think set in stone if he goes beyond fourth.
Well, let's be fair. I mean, he scored 87 of the 89 points that Red Bulls put forward.
Well, that's the other thing too. I think we have to keep our eye on the second seat because I mean, not that I don't think it was Yuki's fault, and we'll probably get into this later. The crash that he had, I
Yeah.
don't think it was his fault. I think that was just bad timing. But if that sort of thing keeps on happening, even though it isn't his fault, Max is not going to like it, and yeah, I think Max can only bear Red Bull for so long. So
I think too, there's a point to be said about like we don't know how bad or how good it's getting. Like we see
Yeah.
constant better performances. Like for example, if he comes back in Miami and is on the podium again, and we're like, okay, well, how bad is the Red Bull? Like, is
Yeah.
it getting better? But only Max knows how bad it really is.
yeah,
Or how good it is and how much he's out driving the car.
Hmm.
Which is, for me, what's tough to, like, judge is, like, okay, is it getting a little better? Are they listening finally? Because I think part of the reason they're in the situation is because Max told them last year, what we're seeing in the simulator, they knew. What we're seeing in the simulator is not what is going on track, what I feel on track. And they let it play out because Max was still winning and Max was still doing great. And now he's not. I think that's still the effects of last year. So
Here's what I
Yeah.
need you guys to answer for me.
Okay.
Is like, because like I was gonna relate this to my knowledge. The car that is built for Max is the exact same team that builds that car, the one that builds the second car too.
no.
Okay, so that's why I get confused. Is because that car that Max drives,
It's developed by the same, like, it's
yeah, developed by
one
the same team, but he has his own engineers and whatnot that work on his car.
Correct.
Because like
Yeah.
in NASCAR, that's how it used to be too. When they had to purpose build every car, four-person team, 4 cars, right? Each team, like each car, had its own team, its own engine builder, its own shop manager, stuff like that, whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm getting a little confused on like, is the Red Bull like bad? I don't think it is. It's that second car. I think Red Bull 1, Max's car, is good. That's why I'm kind of backing up on this argument we've been talking about it for a couple weeks now, is Max is not in a bad car. I'll
disagree.
say it
I
plain
think
and
he's
simply.
in a mid car.
I think, yes,
think
I don't
the
think
car
he's
is
in.
mid.
He's not in a 2023 car, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, I don't think he's in a 5th place car.
Yeah.
I really don't.
No, but I
I'm-
think he's for sure, his car is for sure slower than the Mercedes. I think his car is probably, at least this weekend, it was kind of on par with like the Ferraris.
okay. Well, I think to your point, Tristan. I know we've talked about this, Marin, before. I think that the Red Bull is a fast car when driven correctly.
Well, yes, obviously.
It's not an easy car to drive, but that doesn't mean it's a bad car.
Well, you say the same argument. You throw him in like an Aston Martin, he
Yeah.
could be competing for 5th or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a Max deal.
I-
Max is just that good. Again, that's all. It's like the circle of life almost,
Yeah.
the water cycle even.
Mm-hmm.
When you get back to the top point where you start at the beginning, it's Max is just that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's fundamentally, is
can't-
the Ferrari a competitor if you put Max in that car?
Absolutely.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like
So
it's almost impossible to measure because it's like you have what could possibly be the best driver of all time.
Yeah.
How are you gonna baseline how good a car is from the best driver of all time?
That's the
It's
problem.
really
can't.
hard.
That's
It's
the problem.
really hard.
Yeah.
I know
But
our
I also-
theorizing, I think, is really good. We have really good like concepts and how
Yeah.
we try and digest it and figure it out. But it all boils down to that point. I can never advance my like knowledge on it.
You
because
have to
Max
put-
is
yeah.
a question
But
You
I
mark.
have to
think-
put an
okay.
average driver in there, and then
Hold
you could
on.
really
But
tell.
we do every weekend with Yuki Tsunoda. I
But
think,
it's a different car.
okay, hold on.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
It's not
hold on.
Max's car.
Hold on,
That's the
hold on.
problem.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, they are the same car. They're the same development. They have the same parts. Now, Max goes out there. He does his FP1, his FP2. He has his setup, and Yuki has the same. They can see each other's setup. Yuki could easily do Max's setup if he wanted to.
I would never.
Well,
do
sure,
doesn't.
yeah.
Do not put me in
So
Max's
I
setup.
think,
Why couldn't you just eliminate all
Okay.
outside factors though
Would
and
you
just have him drive
agree?
that car?
would you agree that the Red Bull is not as good as Max makes it look, but it's not as bad as Yuki makes it look?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in the middle.
It's
Yeah.
mid. That's what I've been saying.
That's how I feel.
Also,
I feel like it's somewhere in the middle.
The setup deal's weird because, like, again, I hate to back up to like NASCAR knowledge again, but knowing from like a lot of like podcasts I listen to, people talking teammates wise, your teammate isn't really your friend, if that makes sense.
No, but I think-
setups, you don't want to get rid of a setup. You tell your teammate a setup. One idiot on that team ends up telling somebody else or something like that. You know, setups are actually very, very like top secret information.
I think yes, but not everywhere. Because
Not
I
everywhere,
think-
sure, but I
because
don't
I
understand.
think,
I
like,
don't know how the Red Bull garage operates. I don't know if Christian Horner knows the setup to Max's car and then chooses to not give it to the second car.
I
You know?
think we'll never know, but I think there's also something to be said about like Max doesn't fear Yuki.
Yeah,
No, of course not.
Max-
Why would he?
No.
Max would
Max
help out
has
Yuki.
nothing to fear with Yuki having exactly the same car as him,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
same setup, with him choosing to use Max's setup. The other thing though is Max's car is set up in a way to get the best out of the car, but also the best out of the car with him at the realm, because we've already said he can drive certain things that other people can't.
Yeah.
So even if we gave Yuki exactly the same car spot on, I don't think he would be close. I think he would still be 4/10 away.
So I think backing up to the core argument, what do you guys think about the legitimacy of him leaving?
I think it's legit.
I think
it's legit. I think it's legit that he's having conversations. I think it's legit that Mercedes is not going to sign George Russell until potentially post summer break, at least, if not the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
it could happen,
surprised.
but I can't figure out where he would go.
I'm surprised more
sometimes.
journalists don't know about it. I know it's weird to say, but like, if I'm Ferrari or let's say like Aston Martin, and we know for sure we're having talks with Max, like just like sending like a little like a rat and
trying to control the
telling the
narrative.
journalists like get
but
get
you-
Red Bull more stressed out.
But you
if
know
that makes
Max
sense.
is never going to confirm anything.
You know what I mean?
But Max
no,
is,
Max doesn't need to do
so,
anything.
like-
Yeah, well, what he's saying is like an inside leak where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
control. You're trying to control the narrative.
Yeah.
My thing though is I feel like Mercedes get a better deal if Red Bull doesn't see it coming.
Yeah. And
Well,
they,
probably,
and if
yeah.
they don't,
It's in Max's best interest for them to know that his managers are having talks
Yeah.
with Mercedes.
Can
But
we-
it's not in Mercedes' best interest, because if Mercedes is just talking to Max and they come to an agreement, that's what Mercedes can offer and what Max wants. Done. If Red Bull joins the party, which I'm sure will happen regardless, you're then going, okay, I want this. Who's going to get closer to what I want, right? And you're going up there in price, obviously, as well. I don't know. I think also Mercedes at a time where they can afford to pay Max a lot, because they just lost Lewis, who they were paying a lot. They're not paying Kimi all that
not
much.
No, George probably isn't even making that much.
yeah, I
No.
also
He's
think
making
they
good
wouldn't-
money, but-
Mercedes wouldn't really want it out there because I would think that George would probably go, oh, they're going to get rid of me over Kimi because they brought Kimi in with the purpose of making him another world champion. So then George
Yeah.
would probably not have a best team relationship.
To your
So if they were to
point,
do that, they wouldn't want to
to your point,
be
also,
like, hey, George, you're leaving.
Yeah.
to your point, also, the last thing they want is for Max to pull out last minute, and they
Yeah.
already lost George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mercedes wants to keep it very quiet because they want to sign first and then tell George, "Hey, we're not going to renew."
Yeah.
They don't want to. They don't want to wait. They don't want to tell George we're not going to renew, but then not sign Max, because the only reason they would not re-sign George is if they're going to get Max. No one else on the grid is taking George's spot. He has
Yeah.
one threat, and it's Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
all
Turn it
these
into a
rumors
Luca
also
to the
started
Lakers
last
situation.
No, for
when
real.
Adrian Newey left for Aston Martin, and every once in a while, you hear them now talking about Mercedes, but they still every once in a while bring up Aston Martin. But I'm like, I don't think he would like Aston Martin. I don't know if he would.
Well, first of all, it won't be Aston Martin anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Do you
whatever,
think-
yeah.
I mean, do you think that Max likes or dislikes Helmut Marko? Because I can't really tell anymore.
It
He
is
used
hard
to
to
really
tell.
like
So-
Helmut.
I don't
They
know that he
used to
likes
be
him as
good
much.
friends, but I don't think
I
that's
don't like the
case
man,
anymore.
so I
Does
don't-
it really not trying to just like sway what you're saying, but does it really like matter in terms of a relations thing?
I think it does.
I think it does.
I think Max has just got, hey, 4-time world champion. I'm the best driver in Formula One.
But when
Like,
you're,
I
Yeah, but still, you're gonna want to have a good relationship.
I think
with
you
your
want,
team.
because he wants. You need control.
Yeah, and if you
you're
don't,
Max Verstappen.
if you don't have a good relationship, you don't have the trust, and how can you actually
Yeah.
trust your team to actually be there for you?
I think sometimes there is like obviously I think Lewis is past his prime, but like there is a clarity of like you're top dog just by being a 7-time champion at some point.
Yeah,
I think there is that.
the reason I bring up Helmut is because he was talking this week, and man, that dude is really old. But also he was talking about his ideal successor being Sebastian Vettel, and in my mind, I'm thinking if Seb comes back to Red Bull for this would be really early. I think I don't think Helmut's that close to retirement, but if
Oh,
like in my
that's
deluded
sad.
brain, Seb were to come back for 26, or if he were to sign and say, okay, I will take Helmut's spot for 27, for example.
Bro
I
was
think
born
it
during
would-
the Second World War. Sorry.
That is wild.
It says
Retire.
if you go on his, I apologize, Marina. If
Go
you
for
go on his Wikipedia and look at his birth location, it says Graz, but in the German Reich, because Austria was a part of Germany at that point.
Oh, that's crazy.
That
That's
hurts.
crazy.
That
That
hurts.
hurts.
I think
Damn.
average retirement age is like 60 something.
5,
You know,
right? Isn't that?
man's 81.
I was gonna say, dude's like
You're
in his 80s.
20 years overdue. Retire.
Right, but
He's not bad at it.
he's not bad. I think he does the job that Red Bull needs him to
What
do.
is
Yes.
his job? I'm gonna be honest. I don't feel like I
he just-
understand what
he's
his
the
job
development he's head of development, like in terms of like
Really?
the drivers, the development drivers, the junior drivers.
I
That's
just know
his
all,
job.
all I know is
That's
he
why-
says controversial
That is a
things,
job that-
and I'm tired of it.
That is a job that Seb could
That's
fill.
born for Sebastian Vettel. So
So that would
Yeah.
do great.
my point being, should Seb be confirmed to come back, I feel like it would change Max's opinion on leaving.
I mean, I think Seb could change the outlook of Red Bull for sure.
Correct.
Well, I mean, Max isn't really in a development driver, so I mean, he wouldn't have too much.
No,
But like, I get what you're saying, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a tough
But
deal.
anyways, I think
Yeah.
it's an interesting conversation because Toto has so much interest in Max, and he has since Lewis left. So, and I think that the only reason we're even talking about it is because Lewis left.
Yep.
Because obviously it was never going to happen for him and Lewis to be on the same team. But more than that, we didn't ever expect Lewis to leave Mercedes, just like I don't think anybody fully expects Max to leave Red Bull. So the only reason we're talking about this is because a precedent has been set that, okay, 4-time world champions really do leave, you know, or 7-time world whatever.
I mean, well,
So,
February 1st already happened this year, so we have to wait until for another February 1st for more dramatic news. So,
anyways, let's get into this race weekend. God, it really pains me to talk about Gabriel Bortoleto. I feel like we don't really talk about him much because he's always at the back.
Yeah, well,
It's painful.
Well, that steak car
He is a
is
steak,
pretty
yeah.
bad.
that steak is
Yeah.
cooked.
Oh,
God, we cannot
bring back
that
a classic.
back. We cannot bring that back. But he spun on like that last lap. There was a brief yellow. I don't
He
think
did?
it actually. Yeah, on the last lap in qualifying,
qualifying. Okay,
Yeah,
I thought
I
we were
don't-
talking about the race.
it
and I
brought
was
out a
like,
brief yellow flag. I don't think it like affected anybody, but I was just like, man, like keep it on the track.
I mean, it was on the track. He just spun out.
He also almost nuked
Fernando
Fernando
Alonso, which the comment they
Yeah,
made
it was
about
the
him not getting a ride
ride
home.
Wait,
was the
who said
funniest
Yeah,
that?
thing
and it
ever.
was
Was it-
Crofty, wasn't it?
No, it was
I
a
don't think so.
driver, I thought.
No, was it? No,
I don't
it was
think
one of
so.
the announcers.
Was it a driver?
It was a driver. It was in the post-race show.
Oh, really?
They were interviewing someone and they were like, "Yeah, that was crazy. I hope he still has a ride home."
It must have been Liam or Isaac because
I think it was Isaac.
it was with a Racing Bull, right?
Yeah,
That was
I'm
the third
pretty
driver
sure,
there.
'cause
Was
I don't-
probably
they
Isaac.
didn't interview Liam, I don't think. I'm
That's
pretty sure it was
crazy.
Isaac going, "Yeah, I hope he has a ride home still."
Yeah. Well, because Alonso is his manager.
Yeah, I think that's great though.
He grew up racing Alonso karts,
Yeah.
which I think is hilarious
Mhm.
because he's that old.
Yeah.
Fernando Alonso
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, Kimi wasn't born yet when Fernando had a
won his first championship. Yeah,
So-
it's crazy. But neither was. Well, I think Gabriel was, but just barely.
Yeah, because he's what, 20?
Anyways, the point being, I thought that was really funny because
Yeah, no, that was hilarious.
he squeezed him so close. I don't think it was intentional.
No, he
though.
did not
Like,
know
No,
he was
I just
there.
don't think he
Did not know
didn't.
he
Yeah,
was
he didn't know he
there.
was there.
Who was on his other side? An Alpine?
I think it was Isaac.
Or was it
Or
Isaac?
Jack. It was either Isaac or Jack.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
he was
remember.
Oh wait, no, it was Liam, because he had a mirror full of Liam and didn't see Fernando. That was the commentary. Yes, that happened.
Confirmed.
Anyways,
All right.
confirmed. It was either a Racing Bull or a Jack
was
Doohan.
Big ups. There you go.
Also, in qualifying, what did you make of Alex going out so early? I was not really expecting him to go out like he went out 4 seconds before everybody else, and then his lap time was so close. It was 7/1000ths away from Q3.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, the Williams have been very, I feel, off and on.
Off and on.
I feel like
Alex has been somewhat consistent, but even him, it's kind of like.
getting into Q3 in the Williams right now isn't surprising, but barely just not making it also isn't surprising. Just
It's right in
based on
that-
all
that
the
teeter.
other cars that are around. So I'm like,
It's-
I wasn't too shocked.
It's never a
but
guarantee.
at the same time, I was like, oh, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I think Williams is at a point where it's like, okay, it's a frustrating day when you don't get into Q3, but it's not a bad day at the office.
Yeah.
Whereas like someone like Pierre Gasly, it's a bad day at the office if you
Yeah,
don't get into
no,
Q3
that's
because
a bad
that's the precedent he set for himself, and for the team.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not go straight into what I want to talk about.
Oh,
Why is that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, why is
I
that,
don't want to
Marina?
get hated on.
I mean, it's the biggest storyline of qualifying.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Lando Norris in the wall. Thoughts? I'm gonna let y'all go first. I'm going last.
Steven.
I mean, bro made a mistake, It happens. We move on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting, Christina.
But that's no
Well, I
fun.
mean, look,
That's the truth.
that's the best way you have to do it. You have to make your mistake. You go, okay, I made that mistake, and you just have to not make it again.
Yeah,
You have to
That's
just
what
move
Lando
on.
said. I talked about this with Marina during the race. I'm like, we are watching this kid learn in real time. I feel like a proud father.
Yeah.
Qualifying
Okay.
mistakes
Sometimes
too.
You make mistakes
Yeah.
and you learn from them.
He's
Yeah.
just like I feel like I'm watching myself because like I'm a guy who needs to make mistakes to learn from them.
Qualifying
He's made
mistakes
this mistake
too,
before.
in my opinion,
Okay,
are
mistakes are gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
gonna live and we're gonna learn, Marina.
qualifying
Sometimes
mistakes
it takes
too
more than
Hold
once.
on,
are
let Tristan speak.
yes, please.
Okay.
Qualifying mistakes too are more respectable in my opinion because it's
Yeah,
like
it's not the race.
you're going all out for one lap or a couple. You pull in, do whatever it is like that.
The
The
point
race is obviously well. I mean, I see Marina's face. I get what you're thinking, but qualifying, in my opinion, is more balls to the wall than anything.
I agree.
Like, I mean, what is
Fair.
arguably the most impressive thing that we've witnessed racecraft-wise
This
forever, not this year, is what could have been Max Verstappen's qualifying lap.
In Jeddah,
in Jeddah.
2021.
So it's like, when we think of great craftsmanship and great racing, yeah, obviously, like, the Grand Prix mess-ups are, like, colossal. We think of those a lot. But I think a solid qualifying lap is so much more impressive than anything else.
No,
so
I
him
agree.
trying his best
You're
and
sa-
messing up
well, that's the thing
is
too,
more
right?
respectable than in the race. Also, you have race like pace. Race like you're doing it lap after lap after lap after lap. You get into a
This is why I'm
groove.
letting you guys go first.
Yeah, if you like
I feel a big boom
like
coming.
if you get into a groove and you mess up, like I feel like that's even I don't know.
Well, like to your point, Tristan, I think you're absolutely right in that you're supposed to be driving to the absolute limit in qualifying. That is your time to try
Not
things.
on that lap,
Well,
but okay.
whatever. you're so. at the-
You're at the limit, but I think there's a difference between driving to the limit and driving over the limit, and he overdid it.
yeah.
well, that
it
happens
was
though.
a-
That's the quality time to do that.
Well,
But
now he knows
here's my thing,
where to
and
stop. He knows his limit.
Yeah, you have to find the limit to know what the limit is.
and I think that this is one where I can't be as difficult because Max has made this mistake before in a championship-winning year.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's
Yeah.
gonna
But-
crash at
Everybody
some point.
makes mistakes.
Everybody has bad days.
But in a
Or
year
those
where
days,
you
I don't
have
know.
Oscar and Max both breathing down your neck, it's not the year to learn from these mistakes. Last year was to learn from your
well,
mistakes.
you know what? We don't get to choose when we make mistakes,
Yeah.
Marina.
Yeah, you do.
No,
You
that's
just
not how
don't make
mistakes work.
them.
Oh, some supposed to be perfect. Okay, no.
Correct.
Oh, you're
no,
one of those people.
Yeah, okay.
No,
All right.
I.
All right.
Okay,
I
you're
see
one
how
of
it
those
is. I see
people.
how it is. All right.
In all fairness, I won't be as tough on him as I was for his mistakes last week because I thought last week his mistakes were just stupid. This week, I think they're a little bit more justified. Jeddah's hard. It's a street track. But at the same time, there's a difference between, hey, he made a mistake. Let's not, like, bitch about it. And coddling him into thinking that's okay because it's not okay. In a championship year,
Oh, God,
he
come
can't
on.
make
you
that
think
mistake.
he thinks that's okay?
I mean,
No,
that's
he
a little
doesn't.
crazy.
No, but
Do
Do you
that's-
hear what he
can't
said
just-
after what happened? I mean,
What did he call himself an idiot?
he called himself an effing idiot.
Yeah.
Because he is.
Oh, here we go. Here
I
we go.
just-
I don't
so
hate
Marina,
Lando
now we're no
Norris.
longer talking about his driving. Now you're getting into it.
No, I just. Okay, I've said it before. I'll say it again.
Oh, here we go.
In a year when you're competing against someone like Oscar Piastri, who's very, I think, very cold-blooded, very persistent, very consistent,
Mhm.
and Max Verstappen, who's also very consistent, that Red Bull car is looking a little bit better, like we've been talking about. It's not as bad as we thought it was before, and he's been able to pull out some good results. Like, you can't be giving up wins to Oscar like that. You can't, and not only just wins, you weren't even on the podium because you crashed in qualifying. You didn't even make it to the end of qualifying. I just think that there's been too many mistakes from Lando. I think it's okay to make occasional mistakes. Everyone does them. Oscar's made mistakes. Max makes mistakes. Max arguably made one in turn one today.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're fighting for a championship, every mistake is very important and it's costly. And I think this one's going to cost him more than most. And I think it's also going to cost him mentally.
Yes.
Because that mistake means the difference between continuing to be the hunted, and now being the hunter. And last year that didn't work out for him. And I think the same is
yes,
going to happen
I
this year.
agree with you on the precipice, but
The what?
the idea.
Precedence.
Precipice.
Oh, okay, I understood. I was like, what?
I agree on the theory. However, like Tristan said last week with the numbers thing, who is still ahead of Max Verstappen right now?
By 2 points.
I don't
in
care.
the
Two
I don't
points
care.
Is 2 points.
He's still ahead. He made this mistake. And see, I think for Lando Norris, you have to look at this and be like,
But
hey,
he's not ahead of his teammate, and that's his
no,
real
well,
competition.
Yes,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
Max
I don't-
is
I don't-
there.
I don't know that
Max
Lando
is a
is-
hindrance. It's not. I don't think it's his main competition.
no, I agree. But I think from Lando's
Said Max
standpoint,
is a thorn in his side.
I
It's true.
think from Lando's standpoint, you have to look at this and say, yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I messed up. But at the end of the day, I still almost finished on the podium, and I'm still second in the drivers' championship.
It's true.
Still in the fight. Still ahead of Max Verstappen. My teammate's the only one
Is
ahead
that
of
your
me.
bar?
I mean, Marina, I think you're
In the rocket ship, your bar is I'm still 2 points ahead of Max.
No,
It's okay.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you can live with the fact that you're in second place and you made a mistake and you're still in second place.
because at the end of the day, he already is living with that fact. He
Yeah.
knows that,
Yeah. He's only 10 points behind
and
Piastri.
we're only 5 races into the season.
He
Yeah,
can-
we
he
still
can-
have another 19.
He can live
okay?
with the fact that he made a mistake and he's still in second
I feel
place.
very attacked right now.
Okay, and
I'm not saying this is like that he committed a murder. I'm just saying that
Christina with the okay and.
okay and is she literally like kills me with it every week, every day.
and
Okay, and
You know what I want to bring back? You guys ever get hit with the I know you are, but what am I? Dude, that is the ultimate argument winner.
yeah, it is.
Sorry, I threw it off.
You know what this is, though? I'm realizing now, Marina. And shout out to all the Swifties out there, man. They're awesome.
Okay.
But I feel like us Lando Norris fans are the Swifties of F1.
You are.
Yeah.
Lando Norris in your eyes can do no wrong.
Wow, no,
Well,
I'm not going to
no,
go that
no.
far.
I see
but-
where he does wrong, but we
Just
live and we
don't care.
learn,
Yeah.
and we grow.
See, we are on the learning side. We like to take things at a slower pace.
What's
we
your-
like to
you
learn.
have to
What's your
Accept everything?
excuse for Lando
And then go
still
on with your day.
learning and
There
making
is no
mistakes?
excuse.
Hold on. Let me finish my point. What is your excuse for Lando still learning and making mistakes in year 6, where Oscar Piastri is dominating races in year 3?
But you make it seem like nobody will ever make a mistake after their rookie year or things like that. Even in other sports, you
And-
still see pros in other sports making mistakes, and they've
My-
been playing the sport.
Look at
for, like,
Patrick
10
Mahomes
years.
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He got his ass kicked.
Here's
He
the thing.
heard about it, didn't he?
What's that?
He heard about it.
What do you mean?
Everyone talked about
Well,
it.
that's
Hey.
also because he was being compared to Tom Brady, and people were like, "Oh my gosh!"
And I'm still comparing Lando Norris.
And that's
to
an
Max Verstappen
issue. We shouldn't be doing that.
And to Lewis. Well, okay, let's talk. Wait,
No, you're
let's-
totally allowed to.
Can I move this to the race briefly? We'll come back to qualifying because I do want to talk about the mega laps put in by Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri as well as
Yes.
George Russell.
Qualifying
But
was good.
but first, real quick, I want to mention this so that we don't have to talk about it again.
Okay.
The perfect example of what I say about Lando was today's race, Lando versus Lewis. It's the difference between a great driver and a good driver. Lando made the same mistake 3 laps in a row. He overtook Lewis before the DRS line. That gave Lewis DRS going onto the main straight, and Lewis re-overtook him every time, 3 times in a row. He finally learned, and he did it at the end of the straight. But that's the difference between, I think, between a world champion and Lando Norris, because
No, that's fair.
that's the kind of stuff that even Charles Leclerc thinks of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And granted, Charles Leclerc's not a world champion yet, but I think he's a smarter driver. I think Oscar's a smarter driver as well. Oscar,
Here's-
that's the kind of Oscar move. Oscar would think that way as well, I think, where it's like you have to think smarter, not harder. Like,
Yeah. No, I hear you.
you've got to be efficient.
Like these things are all well and good, but why can't Lando just be different? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that could have cost him a podium
that's okay.
because
Again,
he was 1/10 from Leclerc. He took four times to get past Hamilton. If he had gotten past him the second time instead of the first time,
Yeah, but
he
how do
he
we know
probably-
Hamilton
he
still
could
wouldn't
gotten
have
to
come
Leclerc.
back later in a lap?
Because
don't.
the McLaren has so much more pace. The only way the Ferrari could keep up with the McLaren was down the straight with DRS. That's why. That's how we know. Because he pulled out a second and a half in the first 4 corners after overtaking him. He just had to do it at the end of the straight so that Lewis didn't have DRS.
my thing is, I guess I'm looking at like just this big picture. Like, yeah, we can speculate this all we want, but I hate to even beat a dead horse. But at the end of the day, Lando is still second in the championship. Like,
I love how you use this as an argument, but we're like you guys have all pointed out. We're 5 races in. It's not that hard to be second with the rocket ship of a car you have.
That's okay. Again, we are 5 races in and Lando's second place. Like, you can look at this half class full or half class empty. Like,
Okay.
Putting everything
Can
in
I propose
harsh
a
with
question?
harsh.
I'm not going to answer my own question.
okay.
I'll propose a question and we move on to a different topic. If Lando Norris doesn't win this championship, is it a failure?
I'm not
Is
gonna.
it
I'm not
his
gonna say that.
Definition of failure.
Yeah,
Did
I was
he
gonna ask
fail?
the same.
Did he fail? Because this is his championship to
Fail
lose, in
what?
my opinion.
Yeah, but
It's
I
his
wouldn't say
championship to
that.
lose. If he
I wouldn't say
loses
that.
this championship to at least Oscar, if not more, if he loses this championship to Oscar, is that a failure for him?
I don't know, because if he comes in second, I don't think so.
No.
But if he
Yeah.
doesn't come in second, then yes.
and I also think it depends on by how much.
because you also, I think the
If Oscar
perspective.
Piastri whoops his ass,
Well,
if he wins
What
by
do you?
multiple race
No, I
wins.
see what you're saying. I don't know. I think that's a perspective. Is if he comes in second and maybe is within like 40 or 50 points, then yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah. Well,
But because again, and I mean, you mentioned it, and it is true. Your teammate's your worst enemy. Fundamentally,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I don't. A failure's a tough word. Though.
Okay,
Like-
so
you
so
know.
let me propose a counter thing. If he or think about it this way, if he loses to Oscar, is it a failure? Whereas if he loses to Max, is it the same failure,
my thing is, I'll say with
or
this.
is it worse for him to lose to Oscar?
My
Or
thing
versus-
is as well. I think context is important because I think Christina. I think you can probably attest to this. I think I hate that I'm doing this right now, but I think we as Lando fans have a different timeline for Lando. I think we don't hold him to the same standards as say maybe you do as like a Max fan. I think for us, like look at
acceptable standards.
Just let him finish. And
well, because look, here's the thing. He won his first race ever last year. And now all of a sudden we're like, oh, he should be winning the Drivers' Championship now.
that's not realistically how those things happen.
Exactly.
That's,
That's my point.
See,
Whoa.
The other thing
Max
is
won his first race in
See,
2016.
But
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
Max,
yeah.
though. He's different.
But Max won his first race in 2016.
And when did he get his
first
drivers?
race
2021.
But
Not the year after.
But he didn't have a rocket ship for until 2021.
Just
The first
because
year-
you have a rocket ship doesn't mean you have to win the World Championship. I'm sorry.
I think that's
That's
considered
a
a
little
failure.
crazy,
I think that's
yeah.
crazy. If you have the
If
number
you have the
one
best
car
car
on
in the grid and you don't win the
you don't
championship
win the
that year,
championship,
that's
then
a
it's a failure.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, even if Lando does lose to either or, I think you're asking if we think it's going to be a failure. I think Lando, no matter what, is always going to hold it to the same standard of, oh my gosh, I failed.
Yeah, I think he will, for sure.
And even if he fails by like 2 points, he's still going to be like,
I
oh
think
my
from
gosh,
a
I
fan
failed.
perspective, you won't be saying that, though.
He might.
Okay.
No,
he
from
might
a
be
fan.
like, oh, I failed.
No, like as a
but, like,
Lando fan,
Yeah.
you won't be saying that.
well, I mean,
So, Mr. Impartial, what do you think?
No, me?
Switzerland.
Well, I was going to answer your original question. You said what? It was if he lost to Max instead of
Instead of losing to Oscar, is it a failure?
I think it's actually less of a failure.
I agree.
agree as
Because
well.
again, I do default back to the opinion of your teammate is literally your biggest competition.
Yeah.
So, and in the circumstance where McLaren is kind of out on an island on their own, where they are the best team, if you lose to Oscar, and it does, I mean, unfortunately, guys, we do have to back up to the fact that, yeah, Oscar has so much less experience, and if he whoops your ass at the end of the season, it's a little crazy. Because then we go into
Yeah.
next year, Lando's number 2 driver.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? I mean, unfortunately, that is how this sport progresses.
Yeah.
I
You're only as good
I
as your last
default
race.
yeah, I default to your guys' argument too. You're like, oh, he won his first race last year, blah blah blah. Well, I mean, yeah, the media was the ones that came out and been like, this is Lando's season to lose. This is whatever it is. So unfortunately, the progression of the sport narrates that, yeah, Lando is in that position to lose it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is unfortunately and fortunately in this position where kind of winning a championship is a must within this year.
Yeah.
Which, again, if that is limited to a constructors, a little crazy, but still, I think that's still successful because fundamentally at the time you're being a good team player.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like I it's tough. I do think if it's not Lando's fault the way the light is being painted on him because it's the McLaren has now finally come into its
Yeah.
own and he proved last year that he is a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of like, again, 5 races in, we're seeing a lot of like, just like he's not
Yeah.
showing it, I guess you could say, like he did last year. Last year he did show it pretty
Yeah.
good, which is why that snowball kept rolling into this year.
Yeah.
And it's like, why aren't you showing up? Why is your teammate beating? I'm an Oscar fan now. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, It's a tough deal. I think if going back to the original question was, I do think that if he loses to Oscar, it is less of a failure than if he loses to Max.
Okay.
I think I will say, big picture, this just goes to show how cutthroat F1 is.
But that's the nature of the sport.
Well,
It's
yeah.
that's what I'm
cutthroat
saying.
for
You only get
everyone.
20 drivers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
well,
No,
22
yeah.
next year. But
Like, I
Yeah.
think if you put him in like IndyCar, like in the same situation like IndyCar or NASCAR, like we won't even been having this conversation.
No, of course
Like
not.
we would be
but
happy that
Well-
he's gotten wins and that he's fighting for a championship.
well, it
But
kind of
that's-
exists.
It's
I mean,
the pinnacle of motorsport. It's supposed
yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
No, yeah, of course.
Well-
And I said this today because Steven sent me a post about how Christian Horner was going around showing the turn one. And we'll talk about turn one in a second. But he was going around showing a picture of turn one and saying, like, this penalty was unjustified or whatever he was saying to the media. And Steven was like, it's just so annoying. Like, why can't he just let it go? The higher you climb, the sharper the knives. He's in this position. He's not
his
performing,
job,
and he's
too.
getting crucified
Yeah.
in the media
that's like being
because he's in a top team.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's supposed, like, to your point,
You're
he's
supposed to ride or die
win.
for your team.
Yeah.
I mean, look
We
at
are
any
not
manager.
criticizing Lewis Hamilton the way we are Lando Norris because Charles Leclerc's not winning races.
Yeah.
Ferrari's first podium was today, so I just think
It's funny how
I'm
sports
not
work
going
like
to
that.
yeah I'm not going to answer the question because I think I have too much bias to answer this question, which is why I wanted to get y'all's take on it, both as Lando fans but also non-Lando fan. I will say, from a media's perspective, I don't think Lando can do anything unless he wins the championship. He's going to get crucified either way.
No, I agree.
In the media,
Which
it
is not
it
his
is a
fault,
failure
though. Yeah.
because
yeah.
of, to your point, the way it was set up for him is you fought Max, you fought a world champion. Yes, you lost.
Yeah.
You got just outdone, but now you have the best car.
Yeah.
You are going to win
The
because
book-
you were the one fighting the previous world champion.
Yeah.
So if he does not win, in the media, it's a failure.
Yeah.
Regardless of how
Yeah.
he feels about the season, how McLaren feels about the season, it's a failure.
The book has been written for him,
Absolutely.
unfortunately.
Even worse, if it's by Oscar by a considerable amount.
That's where it gets bad. If
If you're like 100 points behind Oscar,
yeah,
you're cooked.
because then you get a
Yeah.
Checo situation.
Exactly.
It's exactly what that is.
So, and I think especially for Lando, for someone who, I don't want to say he's weak mentally because that sounds so diminishing, but for someone who is very hard on himself and very publicly hard on himself, I think that's a really tricky situation because that's gonna snowball
Yeah.
negatively. So
See, but that's part of the thing. I think that's why his fans also defend him because he's being
he's
hard
not
on
defending
himself.
himself.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
he-
It's
he's-
definitely part of it.
In his own
Absolutely.
head, he's already like, "Oh my gosh, I'm terrible." So you have to have somebody that's actually going to tell you you're actually doing good. Don't listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
it's
like,
also that part
That's
of
why I'm
just-
always going to do that as a Lando fan. 'Cause I'm like, he's not telling himself he can actually be successful.
Yeah.
He's telling himself, "I'm terrible."
Yeah.
And
Do you think
you
that's-
have to have
do
somebody
you think that's
else
his
who will do
biggest
that for
threat?
you.
Do you think he's his own biggest, like, worst enemy?
Sometimes.
Do you think that if he had Oscar's level of confidence in himself or Max's level of confidence in himself, he would have?
Does Oscar have the confidence, or is he just not more emotionally driven?
Oscar's just Kimi Räikkönen. Blah. No, when Fernando said that on the radio, I went, "You can't say
Kimi?
blah."
That's
You're
a
not
Kimi.
Kimi.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Um,
Oscar's blah is Oscar.
I don't
Scott.
know because I you guys kind of know now because you're watching a little bit of NASCAR, but
No.
not you.
Me.
Okay. Yeah,
He's talking
Marina's
about me.
kind of getting into it,
Yeah.
and then Steven watches it. What's it called? Lando reminds me of Bubba Wallace quite a bit.
Thank
which
you.
we've talked about, I
Yes.
think, before.
I've talked
Yes.
about this,
Bubba
yeah.
Wallace in his formative years was so hard on himself and literally like costed himself because he just could not get out of his own head.
Yeah.
And he's gotten better with it, and since then has actually improved on the track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like literally in his formative years when he first got into the Cup Series, he was so hard on himself that he would actually do poorer
Yeah.
because he couldn't fascinate this idea that it's not just your fault. Like there's more elements
Yes.
involved. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
Yeah.
He's really hard on himself. So I actually do kind of, on your perspective on that, Marina, I do agree. I think he kind of is his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because, and I do believe it actually is kind of affecting his on-track performance.
I agree.
And I hope
Yeah.
in the long term he realizes that confidence that, yeah, probably Oscar has deep down, and I know Max has deep
Yeah.
down. And even like drivers like Lewis isn't doing too good, but I know Lewis has it. Lewis knows he's a 7-time champion, and he knows he can get this
Yeah.
done. He doesn't get in his
Yeah.
head that much. I think Lando improves and becomes a legitimate contender once he can fight that better.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
I think one of the things I dislike about Lando is actually one of the things that can do the most good for himself, which is that I felt that as soon as he won his first race, he got very arrogant. He got very, using Max as simply
That did happen.
lovely
We
and
witnessed
stuff like
that,
that.
yeah.
But look how much
True.
better he got from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Well-
time he won in the Netherlands and said simply lovely in the next race, he
Yeah.
was again
I think
right on
I
it.
think you have to do that.
You
I really
have
do.
to,
You do.
right? Because Max did that.
Yeah.
And I know that's
Winners
why,
do that.
That's why I called. I did to your point. You were talking about this earlier, and I realized when I said what I said because I said I called myself the biggest hypocrite. But to your point, what I didn't like about him is part of everybody's done it. Lewis has done it. Max has done it. There's a certain element of you have to bring yourself up, especially in the media.
Yeah.
The greatest
Or
drivers.
they're gonna get torn down.
The greatest drivers in Formula One are arguably sometimes the biggest
Michael
assholes.
Schumacher is one of the
Absolutely.
biggest assholes
Oh
to
yeah,
ever
look at
exist in our
Seb when
sport.
Seb raced. We love
Seb-
Seb now, but oh my God, was he a prick on the racetrack?
Yeah, Max.
Yeah. Well, see,
So-
that's just it
Max
though.
is the same
Yeah.
thing.
That's-
Max might not say it, but he shows it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's
I think that's just it though, Tristan. I think Lando is a people pleaser.
unfortunately
Yes,
true,
he is.
which
He's a
is
very-
it's a personality trait.
Yeah.
It genuinely happens, and it's hard to break.
Yeah,
it's
he's
really
a
hard.
purple pleaser.
Yes.
Wow,
I
purple
feel
pleaser.
that.
Purple
I
pleaser.
feel that.
He's a
I'm such
people.
people
Yeah,
pleaser.
see,
Yeah.
now you can relate with Lando
I
Norris.
am Lando.
It's a tough deal.
When it comes
So-
to the
so-
mental
so-
things, I
yeah.
am Lando. That's why I always will.
He's a
defend him.
people pleaser, and so what happens is when he got arrogant, he saw people like you, Marina, was like, "Oh, I don't like that. He shouldn't be talking like that."
But those aren't his fans. His fans were happy with how he was.
Yeah,
yes, but
he's-
that doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He's
that
being
doesn't matter to him.
criticized
He
just as
matters.
much.
He's matter. He cares about what
You're
other
gonna
people
pay
are doing.
attention to the people who
criticizing
criticize
himself.
you
Yeah.
more than the people who support you.
But I'm
That's just how it
criticizing
works.
him much more now for saying negative things than I am for saying good ones.
Yeah,
but that's not going to help.
So,
Yeah.
but anyways, I want to move on from Lando. I want to talk about his teammate Oscar Piastri, and I do want to talk about Max as well, because I want to finish talking about qualifying before we fully move into qualifying, and then we'll talk about lap one, so they're both involved. What on earth did I witness on Saturday? Because all three of the laps set by the top three were lap records,
Yep.
one after the other. George pole lap, provisional pole lap record. Oscar provisional pole lap record, and then Max, on
Yeah.
pole with another lap record. Top three within a tenth of a second. I'm gonna pose a question that we're going to talk about on live on 360 Sports tomorrow. If y'all want to tune in.
Oh, we are.
Boom.
Yes, we're going to talk about this.
I don't look at scripts, guys.
Are we too quality dependent?
I think it depends on the track. I
Yeah,
think the
that's what
track
I'm saying.
Is
plays a
qualifying
huge
becoming
part
too
of it.
important?
Yeah, like in Monaco, you
That's
don't,
a
you
wild
can't
question.
overtake. You're
Cloud
gonna
is-
like qualifying is so important. I think when it comes to the track, qualifying becomes really
yeah,
important.
you win the race unless
Yeah.
if you get messed up somehow or your crew messes you up.
Yeah.
You win Monaco.
I mean,
if you
Maria,
qualify,
we
on pole.
talked
Today
about
was
this.
the first time. Was it today? Today was the first time that the pole sitter didn't win the race.
Yeah.
In what? In Saudi?
No,
in
in like this year.
2025,
Oh,
today
okay.
was the first time the pole sitter didn't win the race.
See, like we talked about this before. I know you and me talked about this, Marina. That it's like something 50%, 50%. Well, 50% plus of the tracks on the schedule are tracks you can't pass at or are very hard to
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
pass.
But is that
That's
that's
terrible.
the car's fault, man?
Well, yeah, it is the
It's
car's
not
fault for
the
sure.
track's fault, yeah.
No, well, no, yeah, it's not the track's fault. It's the car's fault.
Yeah.
But
We have a lot of good racetracks. It's just
yeah, we have
car's
out.
so big.
Well, the car is so big and the car is too fast.
Yeah. That's
It
another.
is-
That is actually kind
is
of
very
true.
fast.
Yeah.
The cars have outgrown most of the tracks on the schedule to the point
Absolutely.
where they're
Mm-hmm.
too big and
Yeah.
too fast. You can't pass them, and
That's
they're
also
too
what
fast
makes-
to pass.
That's also what makes qualifying so great,
Yeah.
though, because they're
Yeah.
so quick.
But qualifying's also only
like
such
a-
a short amount of time.
Yeah.
We
It's
should-
like F1's turning into like a time attack
Yeah, but I
series.
said I know I
Yeah.
said this in our group chat. I don't know if I told Christine, but I did say
I
this
know,
in
I'm
the
not in
Let's
it.
Out latest group chat. Because last year I was in Jeddah, and seeing it on the TV is so different than seeing it in person because I think you don't realize how close it is in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the TV watching Max's lap, and I'm like, oh, please stop.
Yeah.
Get away.
It's almost to the point where quality is more exciting than races.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I think we've talked about that
Yeah.
before.
Especially in
definitely
street
have.
circuits
Yeah.
like Baku, Jeddah,
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah.
of stuff where you're like millimeter from
I
the
would-
wall.
Or
I
like
would-
Monaco qualifying.
Monaco
qualifying is
Monaco.
more exciting than the race
I
by a
would
long
love.
shot.
I would love to
Yeah.
see the viewing numbers to see if there is an actual
There
disparity.
definitely
there.
is.
If there's
I
like
would-
more people
Do you
that
think
watch
in
the
2025
qualifying than
there's more
races.
people watching qualifying than races?
No.
I know a lot of people.
I don't
and I go, "Hey, are you watching the race, or did you watch qualifying?" And they'll say yes to they're gonna watch the race, but they always go, "No, I don't watch qualifying.
Yeah.
It's boring." So I think there's still
Which
that
is
perception
crazy.
that it's
Which
Yeah.
is crazy. But I also think that the best part of qualifying are the final 5 minutes of every session.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
It's
The
also has
rest
to do
of
with
it, you can kind
strategy
of be
for sure.
kind of paying attention, kind of not. Well, like not today or yesterday, for example. Like Max did the double laps. He went out, put up one lap, which was 1/1000th faster than Oscar. So Oscar goes out. I really think it was a mental thing. Oscar goes out and he goes, now I have to do better. Like I have to
Yeah.
improve, or I'm not going to take pole. So I thought that was like very like mentally that was kind of genius
Yeah.
Yeah.
from Red Bull, but also from Max's mentality perspective, like the more laps you get in on this kind of circuit, the better off you are.
Yeah.
So I thought the double push was really interesting. And I thought it was interesting, too, because I was watching the press conference, and George was like, I want to go back and talk to the team about why we didn't do that, because I'd like to do that in the future.
Yeah.
Because I think that's
Yeah.
much more efficient use of tires and all that stuff. So I don't know. I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I think F1 could play around with their qualifying.
Yeah.
I think for sure.
Yeah, but I fear we tell them play around through the qualifying and they're gonna mess it up too much. And
Yeah,
we're gonna hate
okay.
I would
yeah,
rather keep
but-
it the way
Yeah.
it is.
Anytime
than make
someone
it
goes,
worse.
"Oh, they could change something," they go, "Okay, let's change it," and they make it stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
So
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Let's have
just-
the sprint weekends. The sprint order be the qualifying order for the main race.
God,
I
no.
still think sprint weekends are kind of dumb.
What
but-
do what F2 and F3 and all them do
I
one
like-
qualifying thing, or like F1 Academy, you do one qualifying round. The fastest time is for the sprint. The second fastest time is for the race.
Oh my god.
Gosh.
That's crazy. I think I don't know. I fear they would mess it up, and I
Oh, yeah, no.
also think that like I like the sprint format now where we're, and I don't want to talk too much about sprint 'cause we got other things to talk about, but
That's
I
Miami
like that now
problems.
where it's you have a break and park format, because if not, it was pointless. It's the same thing again. I think we need to be more cautious of where we're throwing a sprint, because a sprint at a race like even Jeddah, for example, is actually, I think, much more going to be much more exciting. Maybe you can disagree with me, but I think it'd be much more exciting because there's walls, there's crashes, and the crashes change. Like the crash on lap 1 and the safety car changed the race in some ways for some people,
Yeah.
especially towards the back. So I think the same can be said for a sprint race, especially if you got 3 hours to turn that car back around.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a situation where we do something like Brazil, where it's like, okay, we have qualifying for the main race, and we have the sprint quali sprint race on one day, so that you have overnight to change stuff in your car, and if you crash,
Yeah.
to fix stuff. Because also you run into the issue where if you only have 3 hours, I can't go all out because I know some crashes can't be fixed in 3 hours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, I want to talk about lap 1.
Mm.
Thoughts on the turn 1 incident between Oscar and Lando? Penalty justified, not justified? Should Max have just given it back?
Did you say
Wait, Oscar and Lando?
Oscar and Lando? You
Oh,
mean
Oscar
Oscar
and
and
Max.
Max?
She's got it
It's the
ingrained in
second
her
time
head.
I've done that.
I think
also
he
wrote on the
overtook
sheet.
off the track. He
I
had
think
to
so,
get the
too.
spot back.
Yeah.
And he didn't because he just doesn't like to do that.
I don't think that's
So
Max's
he got
fault
the
though. That's
penalty.
team fault.
He never,
And the
yeah, they never
safety
Yeah.
told
car
him.
fault too.
Do you think that
Because you
if
can't return places
Yeah.
during a safety car.
Yeah.
So.
do you think if Max had given the place back, he had a better shot at winning the race?
Ah.
Because I don't think he did. That's why I told
Well-
me and Steven were talking about this.
Everybody's name is Lando. now.
Yeah, everybody's Lando now. Well,
He
we
lives
spent so
in
much
his head.
time talking about Lando. Me and Steven were talking about this during the race when it happened. And I said, there's no way he's giving that position back
No.
because it's so
It's
hard
a,
to
it's a
overtake
strategy
in Jeddah.
thing. It's a
Yeah.
strategy.
That he'd rather take the 5 seconds, even though I do agree that to a certain extent I do agree, but I also think, for example, he got like a track limits violation for that. I thought that was stupid. He was.
I mean, I
to
just
an
think
extent he was forced off, and if you look at his onboard, it's very
Oh,
different
he's
than
definitely
looking
forced
at
off. I fully believe.
Oscar's onboard. I think, given it was turn 1, I would have looked at it more as a racing incident. If it wasn't turn one,
Not
definitely
just
not.
an incident.
But I don't think the penalty was unjustified.
No.
I think that you could make an argument for it not to be a penalty. I don't think it was a slam dunk penalty, but
I know. I said
I'm
this.
not mad
I
at it.
think I don't know what your thinking is on this, Tristan or Christina, but I just think what did it for me is Max left his foot on the gas through
Yeah.
going off, because I think maybe it's just me, but
Like
I
through
think
the escape.
I think proper racing etiquette, you just lift off.
Yeah.
I think I don't
but then
think
he wouldn't. It wouldn't have been. It would have been a non-starter. He wouldn't have gone off track if he had lifted off.
no.
He
I
would've
mean,
ended up
once he was
behind Oscar.
off
Yeah,
track,
once he was off,
Oh,
You lift
I
off.
see what
oh
you're
no,
saying.
I'm still in front, even though he wasn't
yeah,
in front.
I think the
Yeah.
minute you
And
realize you're
that's-
off, you should just lift off.
You should be like, okay, well, you're going to get in trouble for being
I just
overtaken
think
on
I
the
think if
track.
you're
personally,
not
I just
turn
think
one-
I just think that's personally just proper race etiquette.
I think if it's not turn one, lap one, I agree with you. But given it's turn one, lap one, you have 10 cars breathing down your neck. There's no shot anyone, much less Max Verstappen, is taking his foot off the gas.
Well, yes, it's
Well, yeah,
it's
fair.
an easier thing said than done for sure. But
Yeah.
I just think ethically speaking, you have to once you reach that point where you're off
Yeah.
track, you have to be the bigger person and say, okay, well, I'm off track. Was it my fault? I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
off track. That's what
See,
happened.
but I
I need to
don't think
lift
that's
off.
his split time decision to make. I think Christian needs to get on the microphone and be
GP.
like, or GP or whoever it is, and be like, "Hey, let's give that position back." Blah blah blah. Just immediately. I mean, I
Which
feel
is-
like you can understand
yeah.
it when we all have the gut reaction of that's probably the smartest thing to do, right?
Yeah. Well, I
You
think
know?
also like from
Yes and
Max's
no.
perspective, I mean, we're just talking about that. You don't care motive.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're Max, it's one thing to say it to Max. It's another thing for Max to do it.
I think if GP had gone on the radio and said give the position back, Max would have done it.
Hmm.
However,
I feel like he would have fought it, and then
I
he
thought so.
probably
Yeah,
would've
That's
done
what I
it.
would
I think he
think,
would have done
yeah.
it, but I think he would have fought it during that safety car period, and then he would have done it as soon as the safety car was out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
other thing, though, and again, I mentioned this earlier, I don't think the outcome would have been any different if Max had given up the place. Actually, contrary, I think Max would have finished third. Or he
It's
would have been at
possible.
least further back from Oscar, because every driver talked about, even Charles talked about it in the cool down room, that clean air is like ungodly. And
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
And yes, Max, I mean, Oscar was quicker. Oscar was quicker for a lot of that race. He was catching, and then he would like get in DRS and then out of DRS, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so I do think that the clean air was the difference for Max. Like,
Yeah.
I think he would have fallen back so
I
fast.
mean, when Oscar pitted, he could have had a chance because Oscar's his first one was slow.
Was
It was
slow.
3.4.
his
Yeah.
only pit
Because
stop
his
was slow.
whatever, because his rear tire and everything, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was a terrible
I
pit
think-
stop. Which Max
I
having
think
the
there's
penalty
also-
helped him.
Yeah, I think there's also a point to be said that the undercut is worth a second and a half, and he came out 4 seconds and change behind Oscar.
Yeah.
I think if they had if Red Bull had undercut Oscar Piastri,
Yeah.
he could have come out with the position.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the undercut was definitely proven to be strong that
Yeah,
race.
the undercut seemed to be very powerful, but
Yeah.
going long was also very powerful, and I think that Red Bull expected to be able to go longer than they did.
yeah.
That's why they didn't pit first, was because I think they expected that, hey, I can probably go till, I think they could have gone to where Leclerc went.
Yeah.
That's where I was
Yeah.
expecting
I mean,
them to
he
pit
had
on
the
lap 30.
He had the fresh air, so
Right, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Max did. So I think
Yeah.
Max could have pitted like lap 30, and I think it
Yeah.
would have hindered Lando's race.
I think
I think Charles Leclerc hindered Lando's
I will
race.
say I know we said that the 5-second penalty wasn't like a huge deal, but I personally think that really messed up Red Bull's plans.
yeah, no.
Absolutely.
time.
You know what
I
else
think
messed up
anything
Lando's
that-
Lando's
Yuki
plans?
Tsunoda.
Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah.
Because I think Yuki, there's no doubt in my mind Lando Norris would have overtaken Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah. The other thing we'll say
He's
is
a better
too.
driver. But Yuki was supposed to be a double Yuki, because I said Yuki-sized wall, but Yuki is very tiny. So 2 Yuki-sized wall for Lando Norris to get through. And I
Yeah.
think that was important for Red Bull's strategy was, okay, regardless of, like, say, even I get this 5-second penalty, I think it's not as easy for McLaren if you
No,
have
sure.
Yuki
You have another
like,
guy to go
holding
through.
up
Yeah.
Lando. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also now you run into the situation where when you pit Oscar early, he could come out right behind Yuki.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And again,
Very
this is
true.
all hypothetical because Yuki crashed out lap 1, but
The other thing I say is too. I think it's something that's under talked about. The pull that Yuki gave Max on that lap record.
Yeah.
oh,
the quali lap.
the
Yeah.
quali lap.
Mhm.
Did he get a
Oh yeah, he got a
he got a
massive
toe.
pull.
a last down the main straight?
Believe so, yeah.
Yes.
He got
yes,
a
yes, I
massive
remember.
pull from
Mhm.
Yuki.
I mean, yes. I think, but I also, Max was the only one out of the top 3 that was very critical of his lap.
Yeah.
He was like, that was not my best lap, which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I think also, and I think everyone does this a little bit, where it's like George was kicking himself because he's like, I didn't have the best tire or
Yeah.
whatever. I could have gone faster. Kimi Antonelli made a huge mistake in sector 1, cost him 3/10. He was only 4/10, I think, or 5/10 behind George. So he would have been P4 definitely above Charles had he not made that mistake. So I think to your point we were talking about earlier about qualifying, it's really, really hard to get the perfect lap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these pole laps they're damn near close to perfect, but they're not perfect.
And as Tristan, you point out before the pod, the cars are just so damn fragile.
Yeah. Well, because I was watching the highlights again, and Yuki literally dinked the wall.
He gets
Just
a
like
tiny
Yeah.
tap.
And then it was like DNF. Like I don't know. I understand that's the whole point. These cars are supposed to be over-engineered so that even the little speck of inconvenience nukes them.
Yeah.
But
Like they were talking about that in Monaco last year with Checo's crash. They were like the car's made to come apart
yeah.
for their safety.
Well, it's just like a road
So,
car.
but,
It's
like,
exactly
yeah.
how they're supposed to
Yeah.
be now.
You know what would be interesting though? I don't know why this is coming to mind, but I'm thinking of like I guess maybe just like perfection.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of like bobsledding and like indoor cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like-
Where is this going to connect?
Yeah. What are we talking about?
There's
So,
no
bobsledding,
you
go
cannot
fast.
you cannot find an imperfection on either of those tracks. You can't. They're stupid
Oh,
smooth.
yeah.
Oh,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
see,
Yeah.
see.
Okay,
so then
we
you take
connected.
So
Yeah.
there's like so then like
I
yeah.
apologize.
I apologize.
No, you're good.
I was
There's a method to
misinformed.
my madness.
Because weren't they talking in the cool down room about the track? Something. What was it?
Well, I'm
Were they
just
talking about all the
thinking.
marbles on the track, or
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what?
like, yeah,
what,
well,
if,
the
what if we
track
get to a
gets-
point where all the races are indoors? All right, we have no rumble strips. It's just all tarmac.
Oh Lord Jesus.
So even if you go off, it's not that costly.
I raise you this. That is
No.
part of the beauty of Formula One.
No, it is.
Absolutely.
It is.
The,
It
the
is.
tracks need to be imperfect.
But if we are the pinnacle of motorsports, don't we want to see perfect racing?
I think that's
Don't we
part of the
want? I
reason-
mean, not perfect racing, but don't we want
Okay,
to see
but
it
that's
to
why
learn like
you make the track imperfect.
Well,
So
my
you
point is
figure out
like,
how to
you-
perfect
you-
the
you-
imperfect.
you don't make the track imperfect, but you
But it's
don't
already
make it
imperfect just on how it is.
perfect.
Yeah.
my point is like, you don't want the track to be the problem. If that
No,
makes
no.
sense.
Well, that's why
No,
some tracks
absolutely
get
not.
eliminated, and also
Yeah.
it's why tracks get tweaked.
Oh my gosh! I
But-
heard they were trying to do that with one of the Italies.
Yes, they
No,
want
keep
only one
both of them.
Italy.
Oh,
Yeah,
MLS?
I heard someone saying, "Yeah, well, they're bringing 2 Spains," and I was like, "No, they're not.
they're not.
They're getting rid of one and
Like,
changing it."
For
Yeah,
me,
we're-
I would
no
just,
more Barcelona.
Yeah, and
I
they're
would
changing
just-
it to Madrid.
I would.
And everyone's like, "Get rid of get rid of Imola," and I'm like,
No,
"No,
no
do
shot.
not get rid of Imola."
Anyways, finish your
back on
point,
track.
Steven, because I wanna talk
Well,
about 2 quick things before we end off today, and we're already at about an hour.
I was just
so-
gonna
wanna
say,
say something
for me,
later.
wouldn't it be cool in theory to have it to the point where we are driving to the point where like the track isn't the problem? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just you can go flat out. You don't have to worry about your car
But
breaking
then
at
what
any
makes
point.
every race? What makes every race different?
Yeah.
And what makes
Besides
what
Well,
makes
no, I mean
every
like the
year
circuits.
different?
Well, you would have
What makes
different
every year different?
circuits. I mean, like you would have different shapes and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But I'm just mean
I
like
don't know if I want that.
Yeah, I would
yeah,
have to.
I
Yeah.
don't. Okay, but
I see.
but
I
anyways,
see what
I
you're
see what you're
saying.
saying.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the principle again. I agree in theory, but I think
Yes.
in practice, I don't think we would like that
Yeah.
as fans.
no.
Okay,
that's fair.
Marina.
Yes.
All I'm saying is every time I've been on here, I go, Charles Leclerc is gonna get a podium. Guess what he finally did? He finally got that podium.
See, I like that you mentioned that because I want to
Barely.
talk about Ferrari.
Okay, but he did it, and that's all that
He did
matters.
it. He drove a great race. I want to talk though about his teammate.
Where was he? Wait, let me
Lewis
look.
said
That's the point.
Lewis, when asked what it would take for him to adapt to this car, he said, "I'm gonna need a brain transplant."
Oh,
Well, you know,
what are the expectations for Lewis Hamilton in 2025?
it is so hard because dude is old. Dude is probably past his prime at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no question about
And
it.
we're
And you're comparing him to a driver who is in his prime, arguably.
yeah,
I don't
but
think
for
Charles Leclerc's doing
me,
anything wrong. It's just the car
No,
sealing.
the-
Car's
is
rough,
just-
yeah.
I feel like
Shit.
maybe this is a bit extreme, but I feel like Lewis Hamilton's having an Aaron Rodgers moment.
translate?
I see. I can see
Not
what he's
football.
saying.
I understand what he's saying too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Maybe not to that degree,
I'll
but I
explain
almost
after
feel
the
like there's a little bit of
podcast.
remnants
Fine.
there.
Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers moment.
He might be falling off a cliff a little bit.
I don't know.
think he wanted. Well, how's about this? I think what he wanted to try and do was a Tom Brady move.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Can we switch
absolutely.
sports?
No.
No, get educated.
I think that
No.
get educated. I think that Lewis, there's no expectations for him anymore.
Yeah,
because
no.
he's just like, whatever he throws together, he
Yeah.
throws together. Whereas I think there still are very much expectations on Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
But given that I think Ferrari has fallen into that like clear third team after Max Verstappen's, like it's McLaren.
I love
Max,
that this is just a thing. I love
McLaren, Max Verstappen,
that. The racing Maxes. Yes.
Mercedes.
it's
Ferrari.
called Max. It's
So-
called Verstappen.com actually.
Oh,
So
my apologize. My apologize.
I don't expect much from them. I think I
Yeah.
expect points, but I don't expect much more
I
than
think
that.
Lewis-
we expect
It's
more
tough.
from Charles than we do
Yeah.
From
Ferrari.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
See,
Ferrari.
It's the same thing.
Lewis.
So like you're talking how it's like Max team. It's not necessarily Charles's team because he doesn't have Lewis. It's Charles versus because he doesn't have Ferrari. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Lewis is in Lando's dream situation.
Oh yeah, nobody cares.
Yeah, to the point where like everyone celebrates you when you do well, but no one cares if you do bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
kind of like Fernando. He's kind
Well,
of
he's earned it though.
Well,
7
Fernando,
times
I'd
that
almost
big.
make the opposite argument because like you're looking at him now. I mean, at least personally, I'm just like, dude,
Personally-
how are you like 18th every
Yeah.
race?
So like last
car is
race,
so
I was
shit.
watching the
Yeah.
race and I went,
Pardon my
"Oh right,
French.
Fernando Alonso's still racing."
Yeah.
Like you go, "Oh right, Fernando."
I mean, I
and
guess
Lance
it's like-
Stroll are still there.
I guess it's
You're
like,
just-
Juan Pablo Montoya at the end of his career, just kind of like, oh, there he
Oh,
is.
there
He's
he
still
is.
going.
There he
Yeah.
goes.
He's in
don't
the
know.
top 30, but there he is.
Yeah, I think that there's like we said, there's no expectation for Lewis, but I do think the old Lewis is still in there. Like I've said
Oh,
multiple
sure.
times that
Yeah.
Lewis is washed, but like he's still there. Like it's almost like
He's one haircut away from a world championship.
He's just got to find the right
He's gotta
cut.
go back
he's
to the
just gotta
bald.
find.
Yeah.
He's just gotta find.
2008.
I think he's gotta find himself again, and I think he's still in there. It's still possible.
Maybe he should try
but,
the frosted flake method.
Maybe.
The frosty method.
but like,
you know?
what I was talking about.
He's
with-
gotta go. Yeah, he's gonna go blonde like Valtteri Bottas.
No,
No, do not go
no
blonde.
shot.
You do not.
He's
there's a-
been blonde before.
Has he?
Yes, look it up.
Oh, I didn't know. That.
I'm pretty sure he's been blonde. Anyways,
It's possible.
my thing is, and when I say he's not all the way gone, is because like the moves he made today
Crazy.
with Lando, that's prime Lewis right there. That is playing smart. That is keeping yourself in
2015.
it for as long as you can.
He was blonde.
I told you.
That's crazy.
I know, and I looked it up.
Anyways, one last thing I want to talk about before we end off. Williams scored double points today.
Woo!
And they
Big ups.
overtook Haas in the constructors.
No.
Womp womp.
Haas will get it
Holy
back. I think that's gonna be a toss up throughout the whole year.
Do you think Carlos is broken in now? He's good.
I think
Are
he's
we-
getting
He's
there.
getting
Yeah,
there.
he's getting there.
expecting him to beat Alex now.
I wouldn't go that far.
Is it that
no.
big of a switch?
No,
No,
I
I
wouldn't go
don't
that
think so.
far.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
I
Give
think
it
it's
a few
gonna be
more
more of an
races.
equals kind of situation, if that
like,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Just
I think
depends on the
both of
race.
them get a lot out of that car, almost in an equal kind of way.
Yeah.
I think
I-
they're both
I think-
upset at Williams right now.
I think they get different. What's funny is I think they get different things out of that.
They
car.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Very different.
Yeah.
You know what's funny
So
though?
together they make one good
I mean,
car.
Yeah.
we just talked about it. I think this is almost exactly like the Ferrari situation. Like, I think there's more expectations on Alex Albon than there is on Carlos Sainz, in my
I
opinion.
completely
I
disagree.
Hmm.
I like I
Well,
like
I just
Alex
think you
more
can-
than
well,
Carlos, so I
let me
say that.
let me say
but,
this:
like,
you can
as a
give,
whole, no.
can't you give more excuses to Carlos than you can Alex at this point?
repeat that.
Like
What?
you could say, like, you can give. How do I word this, Marina? I think
No,
I think
know
you're
what
getting.
saying.
You know what I'm getting.
You're saying that like
Alex has been in the car longer.
no, he's
what?
saying that like we're in a situation. It's almost a McLaren situation where it's
Yeah.
like I can make more excuses for Oscar to make mistakes because he's newer.
Yeah.
Same as Carlos.
Carlos is coming from a top 3 team, going to a mid-tier team,
But
and
I
we're
al-
expecting
I
him to
almost-
win.
No, we're not.
Well, no,
I'm
not we, but I just
His
mean, like, that's the
fans are,
expectation.
but
I
I'm not.
I think that I would argue it's almost the opposite of what you're saying because I think because he's coming from that team, I'm expecting much more from him than what he's delivering. But I also think that it's
I don't
hard.
think- yeah.
I
Because
think
he's in a Williams.
I think it's because everyone else has had a hard time adapting that we give him slack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think does that
Absolutely.
make sense? Like I think we see how hard it's been for Lewis to adapt. For Yuki,
Yeah.
Liam's been okay, but Nico hasn't been as great as he was last year in the Haas.
I mean, didn't he
Granted,
get
that
points?
car is horrible, but
Yeah.
my point being, I think everyone had a really hard time
Yeah.
having a really hard time adjusting.
Yeah,
So
well, you always do. You know,
Yeah.
if you move somewhere, you have to readjust.
yeah,
Yep,
well,
there's culture
that's
shock,
just
then you gotta
culture
get
shock.
used to it,
Yeah.
then you gotta
Yeah.
speak the language, then you gotta...
Yeah,
You gotta
absolutely.
learn how to adapt.
Yeah,
But we
it's a lot.
now
It's
we
a
now
lot.
move into a week off
Mm.
with Oscar
needed- I
Piastri
needed
leading the
this week off.
championship by 10 points. First Aussie to lead since his manager Mark Webber, which
Mark
I
Love
think
to
Webber.
see it.
Mark
Love to
Webber.
see it.
Good stuff.
Don't say
Which I
Mark
think is
Webber.
great. Also, can we just very briefly, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, just because we didn't
No,
really
it's
talk
not.
much about Max. Max got driver of the day.
That was
crazy.
the biggest
I was
shock I've
talking
had
about
all
the
biggest
weekend.
shock of the weekend.
And
I
they're
was like, wait, what?
Nobody knows where driver of the day is right now. They're just handing him out whenever.
Yeah.
Like Kimmy's should have happened the race earlier when he got
Max
got it
should have
and
been in
everything.
Japan.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like what is happening?
Yeah.
So I was very
Well, it's our
confused.
fault. We're the people that vote.
Can I voted for Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
Deserved.
I will also say that I feel like no.
Mhm.
It's not going to say Oscar. I feel like the driver of the day has always been a fan vote.
Yes.
You know, it is a fan vote, and so it's always been a very like a popularity contest almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lando is becoming less popular, and Charles is becoming less consistent, and therefore I think fans are confused. They don't
Well,
know
you
who
know
to
what?
support.
You know what I was gonna say though.
They don't
I
know
will
where
say
to go.
this. I will say this. If Oscar, just continues to dominate.
He will never win another driver of the day again.
Well, no. What I was gonna say was
I think
people
he
are gonna soften up to Max more and more.
Oh,
I think.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, when I was voting
Max,
today, I
you
was like,
become
who
more
do I vote
likable.
for? I couldn't figure it out.
The more
Me too.
vulnerable
Yeah.
you become, the more
Yeah.
likable you become.
The worse you, the less you
Pick
win.
your phrasing here.
Yes, the less you win, the more you win in
Respectable
driver
you-
of the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the more
Exactly.
popular you become. Anyways, I want to end off because I don't have a quote of the day because I forgot and I've been forgetting all year. I want to end off.
Thanks, Brian.
Rapid fire. Rapid fire. And I do very mean rapid fire. Favorite track of the calendar. Just out of curiosity. 'Cause you talk
For
about
the entire
tracks.
schedule?
Entire
Okay.
schedule.
Oh boy. Okay.
I hope I actually know
Rapid
this
fire.
is. Oh, hold up! I gotta actually make sure this is on the schedule
What
before
track?
I say
What is it?
anything.
I
What
can tell you.
track?
Oh, I was gonna say Spa.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
good.
that
Spa's
sounds
on
good.
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
Spa.
Spa's
Christina?
cool.
Spa's my
I
favorite.
don't know.
If you don't answer what I think you should answer, I'm gonna be
What do you
surprised.
think I should answer?
Miami?
Eh,
I thought for sure she was gonna say Miami or Monza.
I think Monza.
Spa's
Uh,
the greatest.
I don't know what to pick. See, like, when you say, like, track, I'm like, oh, well, hopefully I get to go to COTA this year. So I'm like, I would like COTA.
Okay,
because I love
but this
Bennett.
was
that's,
rapid
like,
fire.
not-
I was gonna say now
question.
this is rapid fire.
This has
Yeah.
devolved quite a bit.
Tristan.
Christian doesn't do
I
rapid
was
fire,
gonna say
confirmed.
Coda, but is that what she chose? Did she choose
You don't have
Coda?
to not choose the same. I'm just.
Well, I had a backup.
What's your backup?
My backup was gonna be Silverstone.
It's a good backup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christina.
I don't like
Rapid
picking-
fire.
Pressure.
Oh God.
Jesus.
I don't
Jesus Christ.
like it.
You better pick,
Pick
Christina.
something,
Pick.
or we move on without you.
Move on without me.
I end the pod.
And this is the end of this episode, guys. Tune in
She
next week where we
chooses
find out
Coda.
Christina's favorite track.
We'll
I-
go with our COTA or Monza.
Coda?
I don't
There you
know.
go.
I
Solid
gave you your
choices.
answers.
I'm indecisive.
Is it crazy if I say Jeddah? I really like this track.
I think you
I
are
think so.
crazy, yes.
I really.
You have
Because
attachment
here,
to it. You live close to it. So.
correct. I really. It's
That's
not.
my thing with COTA.
It's not about
There you go, yeah.
liking the race because I think
About
there's
the
other places. That,
Experience.
She
It's-
said vibes.
no, it's not a race. It's not a place where I think we get the best of best races. We proved that today.
No.
But I think it's a track that the drivers really like, and I really like seeing it driven. Like when
Yeah.
I'm on board with Max Verstappen every race, this is the one where it's like, I love this one.
I'm sorry. The way
So-
you just said that
Anyways.
is not okay.
Yeah.
The way you
What did I say that was so wrong?
you said you like seeing it being driven.
Yes, and
That no.
What's wrong with
That's
that?
not okay.
I don't see anything wrong with
I don't
this.
see
not that
anything
bad.
wrong with that. But anyways, that is it for this week. Tune in next week, same time as always, 11:30 Eastern time. If I get to post at 11:30, because guys, our Wi-Fi is really bad, and Premiere takes a long time to export. So I try my best. But stay tuned on our socials in the meantime at Let's Latest on Instagram and TikTok. Bye, guys.
Peace.
Thanks, Brian.